All right. Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where it is you're joining us from. Coach Kevin here. We're going to go ahead and get started. First thing I'd like to do is share my screen with you to get us started here and share a couple things with you guys. Particularly if this is your first time with us, want to point out that we have a Facebook group that coincides with this meetup, and it actually has the exact same name. I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it. And to find it, you can go into your own Facebook profile, look where into the search Facebook function, type in, I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it, and you'll find us. The other way you could find us is go directly to facebook.com/groups/ I want to be really rich. The next thing I'd like to point out why you might actually want to join us is if we have any special announcements for the group, we'll typically have that pinned at the top. And then as long as I remember to hit the record button, what we do is you can see right there, that was yesterday and the day before and the day before that and so forth. What we like to do is record these Zoom meetings and make them available to you so that, let's say, for instance, you're on today and you really like what we did and there's something you want to go ahead and review, you can go ahead and review it. Usually we get the video up the same day or by the next morning, okay? The other thing is, since we are here Monday through Friday, let's say we're in a piece of material that we're working on together, and it's something that's going to take several days to go through. And so you're here Monday, Tuesday, oops, Wednesday, you couldn't make it Thursday, Friday. Well, it's a great way to get caught up with what it is that we've been doing, okay? The other thing too is it gives you another chance to interact with us. Some people ask questions, and it's a way to interact with us outside of the 45 minutes or so we're together Monday through Friday. So we welcome you to join us. We hope that you choose to do so. Next thing I want to point out, if you go ahead, I'm sharing a different part of my screen here, is now we've been running since November 5th. Was when we had our first meetup and our first get together. And even, I don't know how many have joined us since I started talking, but everybody knows that's been around knows we start a couple minutes after to make sure people have a chance to get on. And also they've kind of heard my introduction, so they show up at like 5 after. What we've done is we've gone through a lot of wonderful material, and we've had a lot of great discussions that are based around how to manifest more money and wealth in your life. And we finished up a couple days ago with one of those, and we just started up on a new one yesterday. And yesterday we just went through the introduction of it. So the introduction was awesome. Okay. However, that's something you can get caught up on very easily and go forward with us. So we are in the process of working through and taking apart a book that was written by a gentleman by the name of Maxwell Maltz, called Cybernetics. Now, Maxwell Maltz has since passed on, so he hasn't been with us for a while, but the book itself is totally relevant. And actually, I was listening to one of my mentors the other day. I've actually hired Bob Proctor once upon a time to be my personal coach, and then I became a coach and facilitator for his programs. Now I'm independent. But one of the things that Bob had the opportunity to do was actually interact with Maxwell Maltz. And this is a book that he also highly recommends. I've read it a few times, but it's been quite a while ago. So decided to pick it back up because it's important to understand how we function, okay? Because we can utilize the law of attraction to try and manifest more money and wealth in our lives. We can come up with game plans. We can learn all we can about entrepreneurship, business, money, and whatnot. However, if the program in our subconscious mind that is running is in opposition to receiving what we want, we're not going to get it, okay? So Maxwell Maltz actually is going to talk about, and has been talking about even in the introduction, how we see ourselves. And we're never going to truly be able to outgrow our own self-image. Let me repeat that. We're never truly going to be able to outgrow and outmanifest what is in our self-image. However, the self-image can be changed. The self-image, though, right now is predominantly for almost everybody programmed in at a subconscious level. So we've got to learn how that functions and how to make the changes we want to make so that we can actually manifest and receive what it is we truly want, particularly when it comes to anything, but particularly when it comes to money and wealth. So he will talk about success, money, and wealth. He'll also talk about self-esteem and things like that. And I happen to have this on Kindle. I also have it on Audible. However, when possible, when sharing something with you guys, I like to look to see if I can find anything out there for free that you guys can grab and then actually use the same thing. That way we can have the same material and go through it together. So all I did was type in Cybernetics PDF. And at least for me, one of the first things that popped up was this, Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz -wordpress.com. Then I don't really know what this is, doesn't really matter. Dingwallask.files WordPress. Anyhow, I went through and looked at several of these to decide which one would be the best one. And I decided to take one that is totally the original book that was written by Maxwell Maltz. When you click on that, here's what's going to pop up for you in a moment. Once the internet catches up. Here we go. There you go. Cybernetics. This one is the original one. And what you can do, I didn't have to put in name, email address, or anything. I just went ahead here and downloaded the book onto my computer. So I actually have it saved. And I'm going to blow it up here in a moment, but I'm actually going to go right now to page 23, because that's where we're going to pick up today. And I'm going to blow it up a bit because that way it'll fill out more of the screen here. Let's see, is that too big? If we could get it to fit. Okay. Let's see how this one fits here for a moment. Let's go down just a little bit. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do right now is jump in. This is actually the first actual chapter. We went through the introduction yesterday. This is the first actual chapter. We're going to go ahead and start here. Now, typically when we go through material like this, like a book, what will happen is I will read it to you and also give commentary where I feel it could be helpful and appropriate to you understanding this a little bit better. Now, we do have interaction. We actually have quite a bit of interaction. What we do is we save about 10 to 15 minutes towards the end so you can share what you want to share or ask whatever questions you want to ask. So I wanted to bring that up to make sure that you know that there is that interaction. You'll have a chance to talk with me if you like to, and share whatever it is that you like, as well as with the rest of the group. Also, I wanted to point out that if you are going into chat, that's fine. But while I'm doing this, I don't pay any attention to it. So if you're trying to grab my attention through chat, that's not going to work. Okay. Just wait until the time's appropriate. Then what we'll do is we'll come out of the screen share function. We'll all be together. And then when I give you the opportunity to share, ask questions, you'll just come off mute and go ahead and do that. So if something pops up that you have a question about as we're going along, write it down. And then when the time's right, we'll go through it with you. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is take a sip of water, and then we're going to jump on in with this and get started. The self-image, excuse me, your key to a better life. During the past decade, a revolution has been quietly going on in the fields of psychology, psychiatry, and medicines. New theories and concepts concerning the self have grown out of the work and findings of clinical psychologists, practicing psychiatrists, and cosmetic or so-called plastic surgeons. New methods growing out of these findings have resulted in rather dramatic changes in personality, health, and apparently even in basic abilities and talents. Chronic failure has become successful, as students have changed into straight A pupils within a matter of days and with no extra tutoring. Shy, retiring, inhibited personalities have become happy and outgoing. Writing in the January 1959 issue of Cosmopolitan magazine, T.F. James summarizes the results obtained by various psychologists and MDs as follows. Understanding the psychology of the self can mean the difference between success and failure. love and hate, bitterness and happiness. The discovery of the real self can rescue a crumbling marriage, recreate a faltering career, transform victims of personality failure. On another plane, discovering your real self means the difference between freedom and the compulsions of conformity. The most important psychological discovery of this century is the discovery of the self-image. Whether we realize it or not, each of us carries about with us a mental blueprint or picture of ourselves. It may be vague and ill-defined in our conscious gaze. In fact, it may not be consciously recognizable at all, but it is there, complete down to the last detail. This self-image is our own conception of the sort of person I am. It has been built up from our own beliefs about ourselves. But most of these beliefs about ourselves have unconsciously been formed from our past experiences, our successes and failures, our humiliations, our triumphs, and the way other people have reacted to us, especially in early childhood. From all these, we mentally construct a self or a picture of a self. Once an idea or belief about ourselves goes into this picture, it becomes true as far as we personally are concerned. We do not question its validity, but proceed to act upon it just as if it were true. This self-image becomes a golden key to living a better life because of two important discoveries. One, all of your actions, feelings, behavior, even your abilities are always consistent with this self-image. In short, you will act like the sort of person you conceive yourself to be. Not only this, but you literally cannot act otherwise, in spite of all your conscious efforts or willpower. Let me repeat this. Not only this, but you literally cannot act otherwise, in spite of all your conscious efforts or willpower. The man who conceives himself to be a failure type person will find some way to fail, in spite of all his good intentions or his willpower, even if opportunity is literally dumped in his lap. The person who conceives himself to be a victim of injustice, one who was meant to suffer, will invariably find circumstances to verify his opinions. The self-image is a premise, a base, or a foundation upon which your entire personality, your behavior, and even your circumstances are built. Because of this, our experiences seem to verify and thereby strengthen our self-images, and a vicious or beneficent cycle, as the case may be, is set up. For example, a schoolboy who sees himself as an F-type student or one who is dumb in mathematics will invariably find that his report card bears him out. He then has proof. A young girl who has an image of herself as the sort of person nobody likes will find indeed that she is avoided at the school dance. She literally invites rejection. Her woebegone expression, her hangdog manner, her over-anxiousness to please, or perhaps her unconscious hostility towards those she anticipates will affront her, all act to drive away those whom she would attract. In the same manner, a salesman or a businessman will find that his actual experiences tend to prove his self-image is correct. Because of this objective proof, it very seldom occurs to a person that his trouble lies in his self-image or his own evaluation of himself. Tell the schoolboy that he only thinks he cannot master algebra, and he will doubt your sanity. He has tried, and still his report card tells the story. Tell the salesman that it is only an idea that he cannot earn more than a certain figure, and he can prove you wrong by his order book. He knows only too well how hard he has tried and failed. Yet, as we shall see later, almost miraculous changes have occurred both in grades of students and in the earning capacity of salesmen when they were prevailed upon to change their self-images. The self-image can be changed. Numerous case histories have shown that one is never too young nor too old to change his self-image and thereby start to live a new life. One of the reasons it has seemed so difficult for a person to change his habits, his personality, or his way of life has been that heretofore nearly all efforts at change have been directed to the circumference of the self, so to speak, rather than to the center. Let me repeat this, okay? One of the reasons it has seemed so difficult for a person to change his habits, his personality, or his way of life has been that heretofore nearly all efforts at change have been directed to the circumference, the outside of self, so to speak, rather than to the center, the inner self. Numerous patients have said to me something like the following: if you're talking about positive thinking, I've tried that before and it just doesn't work for me. However, a little questioning invariably brings out that these individuals have employed positive thinking or attempted to employ it either upon particular external circumstances or upon some particular habit or character defect. I will get that job. I will be more calm and relaxed in the future. This business venture will turn out right for me, etc. But they had never thought to change their thinking about the self, which was to accomplish these things. Let me repeat this. But they never thought to change their thinking about their self, which was to accomplish these things. Jesus warned us about the folly of putting a patch of new material upon an old garment, or putting new wine in old bottles. Positive thinking cannot be used effectively as a patch or a crutch to the same self-image. That needs to be repeated too. Positive thinking cannot be used effectively as a patch or a crutch to the same self-image. In fact, it is literally impossible to really think about a particular situation as long as you hold a negative concept of self. And numerous experiments have shown that once the concept of self is changed, other things consistent with the new concept of self are accomplished easily and without strain. Pretty awesome. Let me repeat that. Numerous experiments have shown that once the concept of self is changed, once our subconscious mind has been reprogrammed to accept our new self, other things consistent with the new self, the new concept of self, are accomplished easily and without strain. One of the earliest and most convincing experiments along this line was conducted by the late Prescott Leckey, one of the pioneers in self-image psychology. Leckey conceived of the personality as a system of ideas, all of which must seem to be consistent with each other. Ideas which are inconsistent with the system are rejected, not believed, and not acted upon. Ideas which seem to be consistent with the system are accepted. At the very center of this system of ideas, the keystone, the base upon which all else is built, is the individual's ego ideal, his self-image, or his conception of himself. Leckey was a school teacher and had an opportunity to test his theory upon thousands of students. Leckey theorized that if a student had trouble learning a certain subject, it could be because, from the student's point of view, it would be inconsistent for him or her to learn it. Leckey believed, however, that if you could change the student's self-conception, which underlies this viewpoint, his attitude toward the subject would change accordingly. If the student could be induced to change his self-definition, his learning ability should also change. This proved to be the case. One student who misspelled 55 words out of 100 and flunked so many subjects that he lost credit for a year made a general average of 91 the next year and became one of the best spellers in the school. A boy who was dropped from one college because of poor grades entered Columbia and became a straight A student. A girl who had flunked Latin 4 times after 3 talks with the school counselor finished with a grade of 84. A boy who was told by a testing bureau that he had no aptitude for English won honorable mention the next year for a literary prize. The trouble with these students was not that they were dumb or lacking in basic aptitudes. The trouble was an inadequate self-image. I don't have a mathematical mind. I'm just naturally a poor speller. They identified with their mistakes and failures. Instead of saying, I failed that test, factual and descriptive, they concluded, I am a failure. Instead of saying, I flunked that subject, they said, I'm a flunk out. For those who are interested in learning more of Lecky's work, I recommend securing a copy of his book, Self-Consistency, A Theory of Personality. Lecky also used the same method to cure students of such habits as nail biting and stuttering. My own files contain case histories just as convincing. The man who was so afraid of strangers that he seldom ventured out of the house and who now makes his living as a public speaker. The salesman who had already prepared a letter of resignation because he just wasn't cut out for selling, and 6 months later was number one man on a force of 100 salesmen. The minister who was considering retirement because nerves and the pressure of preparing a sermon a week were getting him down, and now delivers an average of 3 outside talks a week, in addition to his weekly sermons, and doesn't know he has a nerve in his body. How a plastic surgeon became interested in self-image psychology. Offhand, there would seem to be little or no connection between surgery and psychology. Yet, it was the work of the plastic surgeon which first hinted at the existence of the self-image and raised certain questions which led to important psychological knowledge. When I first began the practice of plastic surgery many years ago, I was amazed by the dramatic and sudden changes in character and personality, which often resulted when a facial defect was corrected. Changing the physical image in many instances appeared to create an entirely new person. In case after case, the scalpel that I held in my hand became a magic wand that not only transformed the patient's appearance, but transformed his whole life. The shy and retiring became bold and courageous. A moronic, stupid boy changed into an alert, bright youngster who went on to become an executive with a prominent firm. A salesman who had lost his touch and his faith in himself became a model of self-confidence. And perhaps the most startling of all was the habitual hardened criminal who changed almost overnight from an incorrigible who had never showed any desire to change into a model prisoner who won a parole and went on to assume a responsible role in society. Some 20 years ago, I reported many such case histories in my book, New Faces, New Futures. Following its publication and similar articles in leading magazines, I was besieged with questions by criminologists, sociologists, and psychiatrists. They asked questions that I could not answer, but they did start me upon a search. Strangely enough, I learned as much, if not more, from my failures as from my successes. It was easy to explain the successes. The boy with the 2 big ears, who had been told that he looked like a taxi cab with both doors open. He had been ridiculed all his life, often cruelly. Association with playmates meant humiliation and pain. Why shouldn't he avoid social contacts? Why shouldn't he become afraid of people and retire into himself? Terribly afraid to express himself in any way, it was no wonder he became known as a moron. When his ears were corrected, it would seem only natural that the cause of his embarrassment and humiliation had been removed, and that he should assume a normal role in life, which he did. Or consider the salesman who suffered a facial disfigurement as the result of an automobile accident. Each morning, when he shaved, he could see the horrible disfiguring scar on his cheek. I don't know why it says MS cheek, but typo. And the grotesque twist in his mouth. For the first time in his life, he became painfully self-conscious. He was ashamed of himself and felt that his appearance must be repulsive to others. The scar became an obsession with him. He was different from other people. He began to wonder what others were thinking of him. Soon, his ego was even more mutilated than his face. He began to lose confidence in himself. He became bitter and hostile. Soon, almost all his attention was directed toward himself, and his primary goal became the protection of his ego and the avoidance of situations which might bring humiliation. It is easy to understand how the correction of this facial disfigurement and the restoration of a normal face would overnight change this man's entire attitude and outlook, his feelings about himself, and result in greater success in his work. But what about the exceptions who didn't change? The Duchess, who all her life had been terribly shy and self-conscious because of a tremendous hump in her nose. Although surgery gave her a classic nose and a face that was truly beautiful, she still continued to act the part of the ugly duckling, the unwanted sister who could never bring herself to look another human being in the eye. If the scalpel itself was magic, why did it not work on the Duchess? Or what about all the others who acquired new faces but went right on wearing the same old personality? Or how explain the reaction of those people who insist that the surgery had made no difference whatsoever in their appearance? Every plastic surgeon has had this experience and has probably been as baffled by it as I was. No matter how drastic the change in appearance may be, there are certain patients who will insist that I look just the same as before. You didn't do a thing. Friends, even family, may scarcely recognize them. They become enthusiastic over their newly acquired beauty. Yet the patient herself insists that she can see only slight or no improvement, or in fact deny that any change at all has been made. Comparison of before and after photographs does little good, except possibly to arouse hostility. By some strange mental alchemy, the patient will rationalize, of course I can see that the hump is no longer in my nose, but my nose still looks just the same. Or the scar may not show anymore, but it's still there. The scars that bring pride instead of shame. Still another clue in search of the elusive self-image was the fact that not all scars or disfigurements bring shame and humiliation. When I was a young medical student in Germany, I saw many another student proudly wearing his saber scar, much as an American might wear the Medal of Honor. The duelists were the elite of college society, and a facial scar was the badge that proved you a member in good standing. To these boys, the acquisition of a horrible scar on the cheek had the same psychological effect as the eradication of the scar from the cheek of my salesman patient. In old New Orleans, a Creole wore an eye patch much in the same way. I began to see the knife itself held no magical powers. It could be used on one person to inflict a scar and on another to erase a scar with the same psychological results. The mystery of imagery ugliness. Let's see, where are we at right now? You know what? We are going to, for the sake of time, to give ourselves time to talk, we will pick up here on Monday. The mystery of imaginary ugliness. Hey, and there's more people since we got started. All right, cool. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So here's how we function. I know we've got somebody new here today. So this is your opportunity to share what you like to share or ask whatever questions you like to ask. So what is fair game for this? As far as sharing what you like to share, it can be in relationship to anything that we have been studying in the past, anything that we went through today, maybe some aha that you picked up or something new that you learned. The other thing that you can go ahead and share, which would be awesome, is any successes you've had in manifesting money and wealth in your life already, and or manifesting anything truly great or wonderful in your life already on purpose. And then you can ask questions also. Questions again about material we've gone through in the past, what we've gone through today, and or anything in relationship to manifesting more money and wealth in your life. So most of you guys have been here before and you know the drill. If you'd like to share something or ask a question, all you have to do is come off mute and start sharing, and then we'll take you in the order you do that. Ready, set, go. And don't be shy, guys. Let's set a good example for everyone. The more you share, the more you get out of it.
Hello, everybody. My name is David.
Hey, David.
David Lovan. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and I've been manifesting for a long time that I'm going to be rich, and I know it for a fact that it's going to happen. So I try to grab every opportunity that I can, and also always speak up so I can fully understand the opportunities that I believe are presented to me because of my manifestation. So I love this. I love, this is my first time here as well. So I love this, the self-image. My thing would be like, is there any like quick hacks to changing my self-image to really, you know, make it all come together?
Quick hacks. Okay, so he's going to go through as we keep going. He's going to share some more stuff. Obviously not today, but let me different people I found. I've been coaching people for a while, and I've had quite a bit of success with manifesting, particularly when it comes to money and wealth and stuff like that. I've had some pretty good successes with that for a while now, for years and years and years. I would say that the very first thing that you would want to do in order to receive what it is that you want is you have to get your subconscious mind comfortable that that's who you are. Okay. So whatever you want to be, do, or have, you need to spend time in, well, you're going to use your imagination. You'll have to. The reason you'll have to use your imagination is because your outside, your five senses are going to give you what you already got. It's already out there taking in what it's been taking in. So you're not likely going to run into somebody who's just going to reprogram you. You're going to have to work on reprogramming yourself. The way to do it, though, is you need to go pretend, so use your imagination and visualization that you are living the way you want to live. You actually need to go, let's just, give me what, I know that, you know, be rich, I get that. But give me something specific, something that you would like to be different in your life, something that you've wanted for a while, but it hasn't happened yet, that you would like to see change, so I can be more specifically helpful to you.
Yeah, definitely. I do not want to have to worry about money or bills ever again. I don't want it to be anything like on me.
Gotcha. So the very first thing you got to do, based upon what you just told me, is reverse the way you talk about it. If you know what you just told me, you didn't tell me what you want. I know what you want by what you told me, but you didn't tell me what you want. You just told me what you don't want. Okay. That's okay. That's okay. Because the opposite of what we don't want is what we do want. But what we don't want to do is repeat over and over again to ourselves and to others what I don't want, because your subconscious is not going to distinguish the difference. It doesn't hear do or don't. It just hears the thing. And whatever you focus on, you bring more into your life. So the first thing to do is say, I don't want this. Stop yourself as quickly as possible. Do what I call a pivot and say, therefore, what I do want is, and go speak of what you do want the way you want it. Now, once you've got that out there, I'm going to give you something to do over the weekend, and hopefully you'll come back next week and we'll see you again. Okay. The very first thing I would like you to do, this isn't strictly change self-image, but it's a very good place to start with finding out what it is that you do want. And it's going to be a little bit tougher than you might think. Okay. Do you know who Steve Harvey is? Cool.
Yes, I do.
All right. You're going to go into YouTube and you're going to type in and search Steve Harvey 300 list. And it's going to come up, and it's not going to say exactly that. Okay. But it'll be about that. Matter of fact, somebody on here, if you guys don't mind, if somebody doesn't mind doing a quick search for that and then just post it, the video link in the chat, go onto YouTube and do that. Because a lot of you guys have seen it already, and so you know where to find it. If you want to do that for David or whoever else would like it, that'd be great. Because that, again, that's not going to be the name of the title, but probably the first thing that's going to show up on Steve Harvey's channel is going to be exactly what I'm talking about. And he's going to give you a challenge. So let's start this weekend with that challenge. So that gives you, 3 days to work on that. But he's going to give you a challenge that was given to him. And once he follows,
I accept the challenge.
Awesome. Awesome. And it's going to feel easy and fun. Oh, there you go. Thanks, Takira. We just had one of us went ahead and posted that video in there for you, a link to it. Cool. Let's start there, and then let's revisit as we go through this on Monday. Sound good? Awesome. Thumbs up.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Any comments or questions?
This is Shada.
Hey, good to hear you.
Hi, how are you?
Awesome.
First of all, I would like to thank you, Kevin, for this interesting, informative program. And I would like to share my story when I did manifest that studying in the US. I'm an international student.
Awesome.
And yeah, and it was not complicated, hard to find scholarship and studying abroad. And the interesting thing is when I arrived to United States for the first time in 2014, I feel like, oh wow, I saw this before. I feel like I saw this before. I don't know. And this is the good points that related to manifestation is to feel it,
Yes.
before. And if you feel it, you can see it in the reality.
Yes. Yeah, you had you had kind of clairvoyance, and then when you got here, it was kind of a deja vu. You had already felt natural, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. That's so. Going back to you, David, for a moment. Here's how you'll know you're successfully making those changes. That whatever is the old you or the old things, no longer whatever you're living like today will feel almost like an imposter. And the new you will feel, in the new way that you're living, and the new things you own, the things you want to be, do, or have, that life that you have in your imagination will feel more real than this life. That's when you know you're having success reprogramming yourself. And you can know that, think of it as like a pregnancy, that you successfully got the universe pregnant with your idea. Now, what you have to do, though, is you don't want to go in and try and have the baby too fast, because it won't come out fully formed. And you could have problems. You could end up in the emergency room, So in the excuse me, the time that it takes to fully form, for a child is roughly 9 months. How long is it for any of our particular things that we're trying to manifest? Depends on what it is, partly that we're trying to manifest. Nothing's too big or too small for God and the universe. And there's no amount of time necessarily required, because they can do things instantly. However, it takes sometimes time for us to reprogram ourselves at that subconscious level. So that's the time that it's going to take. And once it's there and you've got that feeling of confidence, you keep feeding it. Think of it as like a plant that you're trying to grow. You don't keep pulling it up by the roots, to see if it's growing or not. Hey, are the roots getting any bigger? Is this thing going to grow or what? So you can't keep taking something and pulling it out of the ground either. So, but yeah, her experience with, seeing herself here already, totally natural. That's definitely, if you want whatever it is that your life is to be, to feel natural for you at a subconscious level. At a conscious level, you could say all you want. I want to be rich. I want to be rich. Or what you were doing, which is not so good, which is I don't want. Better off saying what you do want. But just the repetition of the words aren't going to cut it. Words help create images for us. So we do use words, but it's not just the repetition of the word. It's going to be the ability. I do better manifesting. I'll use words and affirmations and things like that. But what gives me the quickest results personally is when I purposely take time away for 10, 15, 20 minutes to go just sit and imagine, shut everything off, be quiet, and go live that life in my head. And doing that, I have to do it every day. And I should do it more than once a day. And I typically try and do that right before I go to bed for about 10 to 15 minutes, and right when I first wake up in the morning before I do anything. But take the Steve Harvey challenge, and then let's talk on Monday or the next time you're able to come back. And by the way, I want to tell everybody here, I'm not, most of you know, I've said this the last couple of days, I'm not going to do what I used to do, which was always send out reminders through Zoom that, hey, we got a meeting again, we got a meeting again, we got a meeting again. That's why we're 12 instead of probably 18 or 20 today, because I didn't do that. But I've never not been here except once, and I gave you a heads up. So I've been here since November 5th, every single Monday through Friday. So I'm consistent. Just use the same link that you got to get on, and you'll be able to get here. Know that I'm going to be here same bat time, same bat channel, Monday through Friday. Because it takes me each day when I was doing that about 20 minutes to send that out. There wasn't any easy automated way to do it through Zoom to send those reminders. And now that I'm doing more coaching and other things with other people, I just don't have as much time to do that, and nor do I want that to be what I do. So I figure you guys know that I'm here. So I'm just telling you now, the same link will work, and I'm not here to remind you. If you want to be here, you can be here, and I'll leave it at that.
I just want to say that, I know you're there, and we're having a little trouble down here in Texas.
Oh yeah, no.
You know that, don't you?
Yeah. I know though that those 8 people weren't all in Texas.
Yes. Oh, okay. There's more than just one. Yeah, we're just having a lot of trouble with our internet even.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. There'll be reasons. I know not everybody will make it every day either. All I'm saying is just I'm not sending out the reminder.
Oh, no, I know you're here at noon. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes. Wherever you're at, I'm there. I'm here at 10 a.m. San Diego time.
I know it and greatly appreciated.
Yep. And going forward, starting Monday, I will also be here at noon San Diego time. We'll be going through not the same thing on the same day, meaning what we just went through today. I'm not going to be starting the new group there. I'm going to start the new group where we started back in November. And eventually this group is going to come to a point where it'll circle back around also. But I will be here starting next Monday, another hour, 45 minutes to hour a day for you. And going through again, material that's the same, but not at the same time, if that makes sense. And that'll be a bit different link. Unfortunately, I couldn't figure out a way through Zoom to also schedule this thing at 2 separate times using the same link. So there'll be a separate link, but I'm going to send that out. Look for that to come out through Meetup, maybe today or tomorrow. All right.
Kevin, I have a question, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Actually, I read about the relationship between the quality of relationship with the parents and the manifesting let's say perfect relationship or achieving success. So can you discuss this, please?
Meaning you want to know how to do that, or are you talking about
actually I would like to know if it's if this a fact or just opinion. When you have a good relationship with my father, that means I will manifest a good relationship with my husband.
Okay, gotcha. Let's see. It's not a guarantee.
Okay.
Because if you think about your relationships out there, and we all have relationships with people that we're totally, we really truly have a great time with. And then we have relationships with people that we're like, if they weren't around, I wouldn't be too sad. And then we have
Exactly.
relationships with other people. We're like, oh, get the heck out of my life, please. Right?
Actually, okay.
No, that's okay. So, and we have relationships that feel like all three of those. It just depends on the time, right? Where we're, like, oh, I totally love this person, and kind of like they're bugging me, and then kind of like get away from me type thing. The relationship side of all of this, are you talking about trying to, by the way, trying to find a spouse, or you already have one and you have a great relationship with your father, but maybe the one with your spouse isn't there? So are you married already or not? And I
Not
mean,
yet.
for this example.
Not yet, not yet. And
Okay.
I'm aiming to, I intend actually to find uh, uh, my soulmate, so we can enjoy achieving our goals together.
Okay.
And regarding the money, I read actually that the relationship with parents is in indirect way connect to the wealth or the feeling insecure,
Okay.
stuff like that.
Okay. Well, again, I would separate all of these things. Okay, here's a better way to put it. Everything in here. So we have thoughts about our parents, our mom and our dad, and we have programs that are running in our subconscious mind. And based upon the programs that are running in our subconscious mind and what those programs are, will determine our relationship with those people. And then our thoughts and feelings about a spouse or about a particular person will run that program. And our thoughts about money will run that program. And our thoughts about anything else will run that program. So we've got all these programs running in the background that essentially make our life about 96, 97%, maybe more for some of us, but it pretty much autopilot. We keep doing what we do. We keep attracting what we attract, and it's repetitive over and over and over again. The best way to think about all of this is this: decide what you want about something or everything. Do the 300 list that I'm talked about. Do what I told David to go do, and start there. But then choose something that is the most important to you right now off of that list. And then make the intention to create for yourself at a subconscious level through your imagination something that you want to either be, do, or have, and then work on that thing. Don't work on 50 other things. Work on that thing.
Okay.
Okay. Now, here's the cool thing. If you're working on that thing that you really want, and you do this correctly, and what I mean correctly is you become joyful about it and you start implanting that into your subconscious mind. Well, here's the cool thing about all the other stuff going on the outside. When you're in a good vibration and feeling good, you can only attract good at that time. Let me repeat that. When you're in the feeling, when you're happy and feeling good, you can only at that moment be attracting things that will make you happy and make you feel good. So while you're focusing on what you want, a lot of times other things will get better. Okay. So it's okay. And you don't have to worry about, well, if I focus on this one thing, all these other things are so important to me, what's going to happen? Put that in God's hands, the universe hands, however you see it, and say, hey, look, I'm going to focus on this thing. I need you to help take care of the rest for me right now. I'm going to do the best I can to be in a state of joy and peace and happiness while I'm going through this reprogramming for my spouse or for my money, for the house, for this, for that, for whatever, because I understand that that program in me needs to change. So I also know that as I'm doing things that make me happy, as I'm having fun, as I'm having joy, if I make this changing experience joyful and fun, instead of thinking of it as a chore, then everything around you will, if nothing else, even if they don't really have all kinds of other additional manifestation right now, whatever it does will be good and happy, because that's the vibe you're in. It's when you get down that vibe can change. When you get upset, when you get fearful and everything else, now you are attracting that. Now, the good thing is, thank goodness it doesn't come instantaneously, or we'd be total wrecks. Okay. Obviously, that would not be a good thing to have happen, because sometimes we have a thought because we get upset for a moment. I want to kill him, and boom, they're dead. Oops, oh crap! Now I killed someone. Now I'm, all the. So we don't. we want everything that we want to manifest instantly, but anything bad that we think, we definitely don't want that instantly. Well, the good thing is very little of it is instantly. And by the way, our outside right now is just a reflection of yesterday. And when I say yesterday, it doesn't mean specific yesterday, but it's just a reflection of yesterday. Yesterday doesn't determine anything about the future unless we focus on yesterday. If we relive yesterday, then we'll get more of yesterday. Now, if good things have happened, relive those things. Relive those in your mind as a way to gain more faith that more good things are going to happen to you and for you.
That's right.
But as far as, does this person affect money or whatever? It depends on your program.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's pretend, let's pretend for fun. You know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is?
Sorry.
Do you know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is?
No.
Okay. He's a bodybuilder. He's also been in movies, a lot of movies. He even once upon a time was the governor of the state of California. Okay. But very, very big guy. All right. Imagine, this big buff bodybuilder. Now, if Arnold had a low self-esteem and somebody walked up to him and called him a super wimpy dude, that might affect him at a psychological level. And if he believes that, he would do, if that became a subconscious program, that would harm him. However, if I walked up to Arnold Schwarzenegger today and said, "You're a wimpy dude, girly man," he would just laugh back at me and go, "I know." And then he'd walk away, and his subconscious mind would never accept it. Because he's got a program in there that says, I was the biggest, buffest dude on planet Earth at one point, and I'm still pretty much in shape. So his subconscious mind, my impact trying to tell him that he's this wimpy dude, I'll die before I ever get around to convincing him that that's who he is, because of his program. Now, but again, if he wasn't in that position at the time, and I was somebody around him every day, and I'm like, "Oh, you look ill. Oh, your muscles are shrinking. Oh," and he believed me, then that's exactly what would happen. So it's his programming around his health and his body, at a subconscious level, that's ultimately going to determine his health and his body. That's the way with money too. So there can be people around us that are not saying the best things about money. And if our program is more in alignment with what they're saying, they're going to have more success implanting into us. But at a conscious level, before anything even goes subconscious, we have to accept it consciously first before it ever enters subconscious. Except when we were little kids. When we were little kids, up to about age 8 years old or so, we basically have this conscious mind and this subconscious. I love how Bob draws it out. And there was no lid. There was no lid between the conscious and subconscious. So everything went in when we were little. And then over time, this lid developed. But stuff can still get through the lid if, through repetition or a strong emotion, we allow it in there. But at this point, when somebody tells us something and we don't choose to agree with it, then it can't go in. It only goes in if we agree with it. That's why there are wealthy people that have bad relationships, and there are people with wonderful relationships and no wealth, and there are people with both. They have both wealth and great relationships, and there are people that have no wealth and a crappy relationship, because it's just each one of those things is a different program.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions or comments for today?
Kevin,
Yes.
it's Rika.
Hi.
Hi. Is self-talk the equivalent or the same as inputting, I guess, manifesting? Is it kind of the same thing? Like you said, repetition, repetition, repetition?
Well, self-talk, I mean, on purpose self-talk or just what you're blabbing to yourself all day long?
No, I was reading the book Self-Talk. I
Okay.
found it in a box that I had, so I started reading it. And I was just looking at some of the statements that he gives as examples.
Okay.
And I was thinking, he says to put your self-talk together into paragraphs,
Okay.
to picture a
Okay.
picture of what you want. And then you can even record it and listen to it repeatedly, just like what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
Is that equivalent to manifesting what you want, just
No,
like the 300 list?
No.
What would
No.
that? How
No,
would
that's a repro. Now it's part of the process you can use to reprogram yourself.
Uh-huh.
Manifesting comes strictly from your programs.
Okay.
So reprogram first, manifestation shows up of what you want.
Okay. I just kind of got confused how I can blend it.
Well, it's maybe you have to understand what manifestation is versus reprogramming ourselves. Because that's kind of the differentiation is the manifestation of something is, okay, I would like a glass of water, a cup of water right now. And now I have one, right? It is manifested, right? What you're talking about is, I don't believe there's a cup of water today. Because if the cup of water was already available to me, it would be here. But I've been trying to get a cup of water for the last week and I can't get one. Because my subconscious program says there's no water for me. Therefore, I can't have a cup of water, even though I can watch somebody else get a cup of water. I can watch Takira get a cup of water. I can watch David get a cup of water. But every time I try and get a cup of water, I can't have a cup of water. So what do? I could repeat, I would like a cup of water, but would like doesn't necessarily mean it might be better to say I have a cup of water. And at a subconscious level, my subconscious is going BS because you do not have a cup of water. But what I can do is I can continue to tell my subconscious mind that, and eventually it'll go, okay, I guess you have a cup of water, and it will bring you a cup of water. Okay. Or maybe the more enjoyable way to do it is go, instead of being upset that I don't have a cup of water, oh my gosh, I'm dying of thirst because I don't have a cup of water. I'm going to perish because I don't have a cup of water. What I do is I go sit in somewhere comfortable or lie down somewhere comfortable. And I imagine somebody walking up to me with a cup of water. And what I do is I hold that cup, and let's say they put some ice in that cup. So I feel that the water is cold in the cup. I can feel the temperature change on my hand because there's cold water in this cup. I actually feel the outside condensation, like the cup is a little bit wet. So I feel this wet cup, cold cup of water in my hand. That feels pretty good. And what do? I go ahead and bring that cup of water up to my lips, and I just take a little bit of a sip. Wow, that's a nice cup of water. It's nice and cool. And I go enjoy that. And I'm drinking that cup of water. And I drink it again, and I get this big smile on my face, and now I'm feeling refreshed. My body is now hydrated. It's like, it's not screaming at me anymore. And I feel this sense of relief and joy. I've got this big smile on my face. And matter of fact, I go find the person who brought me the cup of water. I'm like, I'm so grateful you brought me that cup of water. That was awesome. I really, truly appreciate that cup of water that you gave me. And what I do is I go through that process until God in the universe gives me an idea how to get that cup of water. or somebody brings me a cup of water. More often than not, God or the universe are going to tell me the next step that I need to take to go get that cup of water. But occasionally, somebody will just walk in and hand me a cup of water, because God doesn't need the universe or any of that to align anything else to make that thing happen. And he's not using anybody else to bless me. But if it's going to be me interacting with other people, doing other things, whatever it is that I'm asking for, cup of water or something else, it will be a blessing to everybody involved in the process of me receiving it. The water company is going to be blessed. The person who made the cup is blessed. The person who brought the cup of water, there's multiple people that will be blessed by this process that I got a cup of water. And I may need to go pay for the cup of water. That's fine. Then God will show me how to earn the money so that I can then get a cup of water. But that's the reprogramming part, but that's not the manifesting part. The manifesting piece of it is, here's the cup of water. So what I was doing is I was working with my subconscious to reprogram it to say, yeah, Kevin has a cup of water, so I have to go make sure he has a cup of water. And I could go demand it and cry and scream and write it out and everything else and get no cup of water. Or I can go live as if I already have that cup of water, and the cup of water will always show up. As long as I don't go backwards on that. And if I go backwards, forgive myself and go forwards again.
Mhm.
Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I got a quick question just on that point alone. Like live like I'm already having abundance of the cash flow that I know that I deserve. Okay, do that subconsciously, like close my eyes. But say like out, like living out. Say if I go to the store, do I not think about, you know what, this might set me back next week? Do I not think about that? Or I just go, you know what, let me just take this.
It's if you feel inspired to do it. If you are telling yourself what you just said the first time, don't do it.
Right.
Because you're now programming yourself for that eventuality that would happen. There are times where I feel that I should go spend money that I don't have readily available to do something. There's times I've done that when I was inspired to do it. Particularly for me, it's been in relationship more often than not to getting some form of training or to grow some form of business. Like I needed to know something that I didn't know. I needed mentorship and training and coaching that I didn't have. And so, and I maybe obviously, if I had all the money and resources, whatever I wanted, I wouldn't probably need or ask for the help that I was asking for, but I was trying to accomplish something and I wanted to get better. So I need someone to help me get better. Paying for stuff like that and finding money that wasn't necessarily mine, but when I say finding, borrowing, doing things for other people, trading, whatever, to receive what I needed for that training. Yes, occasionally I've been told something like, go to Disneyland, and I have. And I ended up making $10,000 while I was at Disneyland. Not from anybody I met at Disneyland, but because I let go of something. And while I was at Disneyland, it happened. But if I just decide this is Kevin's idea, not God in the universe's idea, I'm going to go to Disneyland because look what happened last time. Matter of fact, I'm going to Disneyland every day of the week because I want $10,000 a day. Not going to happen. That wasn't my idea. That was my idea, not God's idea. So you got to make sure that you're receiving that kind of inspiration, revelation, intuition when you go do things that are out of the ordinary and that it's a blessing to you because God asked you to do it, and that's why it makes sense. But outside of that, it doesn't make sense. I've done tons of things that the world would go, that makes no sense whatsoever. And as long as I was in tune and it wasn't my idea, it was God in the universe, it always worked out. And you'll get to maybe know my story at some point, but I went from $5,000-6,000 a month as an income in a matter of just a couple of months to $50,000 a month in income. But I did something maybe a little different than what you're talking about too. You're focusing on money. I would focus on your lifestyle. And then the amount of money necessary to create that lifestyle will show up. I never set a goal for $50,000 a month at that time. I set a goal for a particular lifestyle, and then that just happened to be the amount of money required to make it happen. But our brains don't necessarily get, our subconscious mind doesn't really get, and God, the money doesn't really matter to them. I've been given a $130,000 automobile without paying for it. So there's just different, it's better to decide how you want life to be and who, and what's important about what we're starting to read right now is this is getting into, why am I struggling with this? Because your own self-image is not in agreement with what you're asking for. But he's going to go in depth into how to change that. I just am only going to read so much in a day with you guys. And you know what I mean? So there's going to be a little bit of a process here. But by the time he's done with the book, you'll know what to do at an intellectual level. And maybe you'll have tried a few things too. But you can't just read a book once, say, I got it, I understand it, and go, here's how I know if you understand law of attraction or not. You have what you want or you don't. It's actually that simple. Our results, we can tell people, I know this, I know that, I've read this, I've read that. If you don't have what it is you've been wanting and striving for. Now, if it's something you just come up with today, that's different, but you've wanted and it's been months or years and it's still not, then I don't care how many times you watch the movie The Secret, which if you haven't watched it, by the way, go watch it. You know what I'm talking about? You know, go watch it, it's helpful. But just watching the movie The Secret is not going to change you at a subconscious level. You'll have to change at a subconscious level, then the program doesn't go against what you want any longer. Your image of yourself sees you differently, and it has to express once it becomes subconscious. Once it becomes subconscious, we can't stop it. All we can do is change that program and bring in a new program that overrides it. We don't even get rid of old programs, funny enough. People, you know, I'm digging this up so I can get rid of it. And you don't actually ever get rid of it because your subconscious mind never forgets anything. We forget stuff at a conscious level. Subconscious mind remembers everything. What we have to do is get a new program that'll actually speak to the subconscious in such a way where it goes, okay, this is what's normal for him. What is normal for David, and that's all it's trying to do. What is normal for him, because it wants to keep you safe, it wants to keep you alive. The best thing it will do to do that is go, what is going on right now? Well, he's currently safe and alive. Now that doesn't mean by safe that like you aren't being abused. But if you're allowing that to happen to yourself and you're still alive, subconscious goes, that's what's normal for him. Normal for David is this. So we got to change to where the subconscious mind goes, okay, that's no longer what's normal for David. What's normal for David is this. He goes, okay, here we go. Then I'm going to go make sure that that's what happens. So until this feels normal, it's, you know, until again, it feels like the world you're living in now is the phony one and the world that you're creating is the real one. That's when you know you're making that progress.
Thank you. That made a lot of sense for me.
Awesome. Awesome. Okie dokie, everybody. I am going to cut you guys loose and I will see you on Monday. Thanks for joining. Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kevin.
Kevin.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Bye, everybody. Have a
Awesome,
great
awesome
weekend.
class.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, everyone.
Everybody have a great weekend.
All right.